The following video will illustrate the flow of work of a temporary emergency power mission during a notice event. For example, a hurricane. Approximately 72 hours prior to landfall, the impacted FEMA Regional Response Coordination Center, or RRCC, will issue a pre-scripted mission assignment to deploy the various key assets in the emergency power mission. These assets are the USACE Emergency Power Planning and Response Team, the 249th Engineer Battalion, the Advanced Contract Initiative (ACI) contractor, the USACE Deployable Tactical Operations System (DTOS), and the FEMA-owned generators. All assets will deploy to the FEMA Designated Incident Support Base, or ISB, by D48 hours, with the exception of 2 of the Emergency Power PRT members who will deploy elsewhere. In most cases, the action officer and a mission specialist will deploy to the State Emergency Operations Center, and the mission liaison will deploy to the supporting district's Emergency Operations Center. Upon arriving at the incident support base, the contractor can begin to prep the generators if that ISB will be the operational staging area for the power mission. Should these actions be feasible, FEMA will need to sign operational control of the generators over to the Corps of Engineers. Prepping the generators, however, will not be feasible at the ISB if the final staging area determined post-landfall is different from the ISB. At the same time, the Action Officer and the 249th Mission Control (MC) node will initiate contact with their state counterparts at the State Emergency Operations Center. Each state will have a slightly different process for transferring and receiving temporary emergency power requests, but usually the local counties will submit their request to the state EOC. The state will confirm the validity of the request, assign a priority, and decide how the request shall be met. Should the state have inherent assets, such as rental generators or National Guard assets, the state could choose to fill the requests with state assets. If not, the state will turn to FEMA to meet the need. The state will provide the request to the action officer. The request could be for one generator or for multiple generators at multiple sites. Should the list not be in priority order, it should be returned to the state for prioritization. The mission specialist will enter each facility request or tasking into the EngineLink power module. If the mission specialist is not able to input the tasking from the state EOC, they can send the information by any means possible to the mission specialist at the ISB. The pit boss is also available to input the data. Once the tasking is entered, the mission specialist checks EngineLink and EPFAT to see if an assessment for that facility already exists. If an assessment, also known as pre-installation inspection data, is available, the mission specialist will print out an install work order for the ACI contractor. If there is no valid pre-assessment data, the pit boss will review the request and assign a team to perform the assessment. An assessment work order is given to the 249th. In the event that the 249th is not able to conduct the PII, the ACI contractor will be tasked with performing the assessments. The ACI contractor will be provided a hard copy of the assessment request to complete and return to the pit boss. The facility POC provides access to the facility, and the assessment is performed. The data is then uploaded into EngineLink. The assessment will determine if a generator is needed for that facility. Sometimes the assessment results indicate that a generator is not required. For example, perhaps an existing generator just needs repairs, or perhaps there's just a minor electrical problem at the facility. This information is reported so the mission specialist can note it in the power module and close that tasking. Should a generator be required, the 249th will pass the pertinent information back to the staging area. The logistics specialist, in conjunction with the 249th Yard Dog, will select an appropriate generator from the staging area. The mission specialist will input the barcode for the generator that was selected into EngineLink. Next, the mission specialist prints out the installation work order, which is signed by the mission manager or the contract specialist and given to the logistics specialist, who passes it on to the ACI contractor. The ACI contractor signs for the generator if all generators were not signed over at the beginning of the event. The generator will usually be prepped at this point. the ACI contractor will need to prepare the bill of materials for the installation and load the generator on a truck for delivery. The delivery trucks are generally provided by the contractor. However, there are occasions when FEMA provides trucks through a GSA contract, or the generator may be trailer-mounted. Before the truck hauling the generator is allowed to leave the incident support base or staging area, the logistics specialist will make a copy of the tasking, which has the signature of the driver and the departure time and date. The ACI contractor will coordinate as necessary with the 249th, the facility POC, and the local utility to ensure that the site is ready for the installation of the generator. Upon arrival, the ACI contractor takes photographs and documents the existing environmental conditions. The facility POC signs and records the time and date on the install work order to affirm that the generator is in their possession. When the truck driver returns to the staging area, the logistics specialist will make a copy of the signed delivery work order. The mission manager, contract specialist, and/or logistics specialist will have a reporting method in place for the contractor to notify them when the electrical installation team has completed the install and temporary emergency power is being provided to the facility according to the terms and conditions set forth in the ACI contract. ENGLink is then updated by the mission specialist, which in turn updates the EEI report in ENGLink. The mission manager should also provide any other significant information or hot topics that should be briefed upwardly. The ACI contractor then gets the facility manager's signature if it is available. The maintenance of generators begins 24 hours from the installation. USACE quality assurance representatives begin their QA processes at this point. Meanwhile, signed installation forms are returned to the logistics specialist, who passes this work order to the mission specialist for updates to databases. The ACI contract requires that the contractors have a quality control plan, and they must provide QC reports to the mission manager. The mission manager should provide a copy of the contractor's plan and reports to the logistics specialist, and the quality assurance inspectors should review it. Since the government pays for the contractor resources that are ordered and received, it is important that the logistics specialist and quality assurance inspector do initial and periodic counts of resources that are on-site, in regular service, and/or standby status. QA should complete Quality Assurance Surveillance Plan, or QASP, reports of their findings and provide them to the logistics specialist, who may provide them to the mission manager, so deficiencies can be addressed with the contractor and reports can be maintained in the mission files. When requests for deinstallation come from any of the various sources listed, the action officer should be notified so they can get the state to verify that the generator is no longer needed. Once that information is verified, the action officer can inform the mission manager or contract specialist to prepare the tasker to have the generator deinstalled. The mission specialist prints out the deinstall work order and the mission manager or contract specialist signs the order. The contract specialist retains a copy for their file. The ACI contractor receives a copy and does all of the required coordination with the power company, facility owner and POC, and/or the code enforcement agency before actually removing the generator. When the generator is disconnected and returned to the staging area, the mission specialist enters the data into ENGLink. Upon return to the staging area, the generator is signed over to USACE. At the end of the mission, FEMA determines the amount of effort needed to make the generators fully mission capable for return to storage. These actions are completed by the ACI contractor.